Hello and welcome back. Today we're gonna attempt to make the best oatmeal chocolate chip cookie ever. And I think these might just be your next favorite cookie. Chocolate chip oatmeal cookies are a classic cookie for a reason, and you've probably had them a time or two. But have you ever made them or had them before where they're very round and cakey or kind of dry and dense? I like my cookies to kind of have a nice spread on them, not to be too dome-like. I like the texture to be chewy and have lots of texture from the oats, but I like a crisp outer edge and a really soft, gooey center. So that's exactly what we're gonna make today. And for those of you who are new here, I'm Carly, I'm from Trove Desserts. I run this small baking channel with my sister. We have a lifetime of baking experience, and we also ran our own bakery for over 3 years. So let's get started. I'll be sharing some secret tips with you along the way to get that perfect chewy oatmeal cookie texture. And just as a side note, both the metric and imperial measurements will be in the description box down below for you to follow. So getting started, we have a cup of unsalted butter here. I've got a cup of granulated white sugar and 1 cup of packed light brown sugar. One thing to mention about the butter is you're definitely going to want to make sure that it's nice and soft at room temperature, so when you press your finger in, it moves. It doesn't just stay one solid brick. And we're just going to cream these together for about 2 minutes. So now I'm just going to lower my mixer and we're going to have it going at about medium speed and then bump it up to high as it continues to mix. Okay, now that our butter and sugar is combined, we're going to add in our eggs. So I have 2 large size eggs here, and I'm just going to crack these both into my cookie mixture. In addition to 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. This makes the best cookies, so I always add extra. And then we're going to just put this mixer back on low just until it's just been incorporated. We don't want to mix this part for too long. So I'm just going to give my bowl a quick scrape here. And now we're just going to leave this and set this aside and mix up our dry ingredients. So to mix up our dry ingredients, I have my flour here. I've got some cornstarch, some sea salt, and baking soda. And I'm just going to need a medium-sized bowl and a whisk. And I'm starting with 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour in my bowl, followed by 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. The cornstarch just really allows the cookies to have a really nice chew, which I love in an oatmeal cookie. Then I have 1¼ teaspoon of sea salt, and then a teaspoon of baking soda just to give these cookies a little bit of a rise. Then we're just gonna whisk it all together. Okay, that's perfect. Going to be adding this now back to my cookie dough mixture, and then we're just going to mix it on low just until it's combined. Okay, and now we're just going to turn our mixer on low. Just going to give my bowl a quick scrape to mix one more time, and then we're going to move on to adding our oats. Okay, so our cookie dough base is basically assembled now. So we're going to add the very most important piece to our oatmeal chocolate chip cookies, and that's our oats and our chocolate chips, of course. So I kind of like to split up my oat varieties. You can, of course, just use one type. Use whatever you've got. I am using a mixture of rolled oats and large flake oats here, and that just really gives it a really interesting texture, I find. But if you just have rolled or old-fashioned oats on hand, just use one of those two. You're just gonna adjust the texture of the cookies just a little bit. Just make sure that you have 1½ cups in total. So I'm using 3/4 cup of rolled oats and then 3/4 cup of old-fashioned oats here. And I'm just gonna start by lightly mixing this before we add in our chocolate chips. And now here I have 2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips that I'm going to be adding. I like to make sure I have a lot of chocolate because that's really what makes this cookie absolutely delicious. We're just going to mix this on a low speed setting just until everything's combined. Okay. This looks absolutely delicious. I can't resist to try it, I have to. Nothing better than cookie dough. Okay, so now for the fun part, we're going to scoop our cookie dough. So I'm using a size 24, I believe this is a 24, cookie scoop or ice cream scoop to do this. These are just gonna get us really nice, medium-sized cookies. And we're gonna get about 30 cookies, 28 to 30 cookies out of this large batch of cookie dough here. So if that's too many for you, then just half this recipe. It's really easy. Or if you want more, double it. I also want to just mention quickly before I get scooping, I have an aluminum baking sheet here, and I just lined it loosely with a piece of parchment paper so that the cookies don't stick to the bottom. Okay. I like to have 12 cookies on my baking sheet at a time, making sure each one is spaced evenly apart. So I do 3 cookies on the short edge and 4 cookies along the long edge. Okay, so cookies are all done. They're ready to go into the oven. If I didn't mention this before, preheat your oven to 350 degrees. These guys bake for about 10 to 12 minutes. And one other thing, I came across a dark chocolate bar in my pantry, and I honestly couldn't help but chop it up because I just love adding chopped dark chocolate to the tops of my cookies. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. You do not have to do this if you don't have chocolate at home. It just kind of adds to the bakery style look of my cookies, which I really love. The bakery owner in me must make bakery quality cookies every single time. Okay, all ready for the oven. These are gonna be really, really good. So we're gonna keep an eye on them. I'm gonna start by putting them in for about 10 minutes. I'm gonna check on them, maybe just take a peek at 9 minutes just to determine where we're at. But basically what I'm looking for on my cookies is for them to be puffed. I'm looking for a slight brown on the outer edge, but still soft and pale color on the inside. But I just wanna make sure that they're not really wet looking on the inside. Let's get these into the oven. These look so good, and just so you know, like most of my cookies that I like to make, I always like to place my cookies down a little bit forcefully right when they come out of the oven on my cooling rack, just to get them a little bit more deflated. And they end up being the perfect texture every single time. That's a little hack for you. Our cookies have cooled now for 10 minutes, and it took all my willpower not to eat one. I mean, just look at these beautiful cookies. Moment of truth, we must try one of these. These look so good, oh my gosh. Need to make sure I don't have any chocolate in my teeth before I start talking. These are without a doubt the best oatmeal chocolate chip cookies I've ever tasted. They have the perfect crisp outer edge, but they're still so chewy and soft in the middle. And they're also loaded with chocolate, which I love. I love a really chocolatey oatmeal cookie. And then of course, just the addition of the dark chocolate chunks on top, which is totally optional, but it just gives it that really beautiful look and also just tastes delicious. So you guys absolutely have to make these. I really hope that you give them a try, and I hope you love them just as much as we do. This recipe is so easy to put together. You don't need any fancy ingredients or anything like that. Everything's gonna be listed down below for you. If you followed along and watched this entire video through, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you see more of our videos just like this. Enjoy your cookies. We'll see you in the next one.